everyone. Welcome to Connections for Life. I'm on location running from Shark Chad. I'm Ted P.
I'm Chad Kuvo.
And Joe's embarrassed to do this show every week because of these.
I don't know what is more disturbing, the face or it's your actual mouth on a shark, which is freaking me out. But Joe's right, everybody.
Now I'm staying like this the rest of the show.
Wonderful.
There's not much of a difference, Chad.
It's not
a whole lot. Yeah, it might be an improvement.
Oh, got rid of it.
Oh, hey, there it is. So, how's it going, gentlemen? As you can see here, Joe and I are both on location again. I'm back from vacation, thank God, and good to be here with you boys.
Yeah, you too, buddy. I know you're down in Orlando.
You're different sides of the world.
I'm out here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Yeah, it's been a long week. I'm ready to go home. I don't know about you.
I've been traveling a tremendous amount. You know, I was in Nashville a couple of weeks ago, and then I had the pleasure of a reunion, and then I went to the woods and vacationed, and then I flew down here, and I got to meet the MVP of the finals, Giannis Antetokounmpo, which was an awesome moment in my life right here, and I'm so proud to share it on the show.
Did you post it?
I did. No, I'm going to put it on LinkedIn later today.
Okay.
I asked him to be on our show, and he said no. He said yes to everything else, but he said no. No, thank you.
You had to shoot your shot. You had to shoot your shot. You never know.
Never know.
Speaking of celebrities, I'm here at the APGA, the American Public Gas Association in Albuquerque. It's actually outside of Albuquerque at this awesome resort. This place is ridiculous. It's so cool. But yesterday we had a guest speaker, inspirational speaker, Merrill Hodge. For those of you that don't know, he played, I think, 10 or 12 years with the Steelers and then a few with the Bears.
Running back. But
awesome guy, really awesome. And the speech was good enough in itself. Like the talk was amazing. So yesterday evening, I went down to the bar, surprise, and everybody else was at a reception for the show, and I hadn't gotten to that point yet. So I stopped at the bar, and there was one person sitting in the bar in golf shorts and a hat, and it was Merrill Hodge. He was the only person in the bar. And I sat and talked with Merrill for about 2 hours yesterday, just he and I. And I left that conversation more like impressed with that guy than I did just hearing his speech. I mean, hearing like how real he was, and you know, his about his kids, where he lives now, and his transition through football and post retirement, working at ESPN. Awesome. He was amazing. But the funny thing is, I have to show you guys this, is that when I was leaving the speech yesterday, there was a bunch of name badges that were there still that people hadn't picked up, didn't come or whatever. We've all seen that. And I see Chad Kuvo's because I'd registered him, but he didn't obviously come. And the other one that I see is, where is it? Merrill Hodge.
Oh.
So I took it, right, to be a smart guy, because I figured Merrill Hodge isn't going to wear his name badge. So last night at the bar,
and what are the odds of you actually talking to him as well?
I mean, right. I had to come clean. I was like, by the way, I stole your name badge, and he was like, I wasn't going to wear the name badge. So
I wasn't going to wear that anyway.
To sign it at least.
But I got some really great pictures of him. And he actually called a restaurant and told me next time I'm in Pittsburgh to ask for the guy. And he called the owner and said, you know, when Joe comes in, sure. It's crazy. So
I'm totally going to be in Pittsburgh next week. So I'm going to go to that restaurant and say, hey, I'm Joe Surratt.
Really, really cool guy. He's, you know, I did not ask him to be on the show. I just didn't feel like that was going to be his, you know, his place. But, you know, he's going to send me some hats and T-shirts and things from his site, and just really, really great guy. And I just wanted to pass that along. Merrill, I know you're not ever going to watch this show. I'm tagging you in it, but, and I told you to hook me up on LinkedIn, but if you see this, give us a little pump. We could use it. So,
and I'm just going to ride the coattails of Joe on it, please. I beg you.
I mean, it's pretty cool that Ted met. I can't pronounce the guy's name, but that
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
I can't do the last name.
I can't say the first one.
Giannis. Listen, guys, I got to be honest about, just while we're sharing this, like, you know, as everybody on our show knows or watches our show knows, I run a basketball program, and it's got a bunch of kids in it and stuff like that. So just on the side of my personal running into the guy who just dropped 50 on Thursday night to win the NBA Finals and to be the Finals MVP and to stay with a small market franchise his whole career, it was amazing. Just because that guy's story and his fight is tremendous. And then to know some of the stories that I've heard about him was awesome. But then when I walked up to him, you know, you never want to be that fanboy, that guy that makes the famous guy get known to the entire room.
Right.
But, you know, I just walked up very nonchalant and I said, you know, excuse me, Giannis, first I want to congratulate you on your championship. But I said, it would mean the world to me, and it would mean the world to about 85 kids if I could just get a selfie with you, because they love you. These boys that I coach, they tremendously look up to you, and they find you inspiring. And he was one of the nicest. He gave me, you know, like 3 to 5 minutes of his time right there. I said, we can go in private, so I don't. He goes, no, for the children, we do it right here, and it was awesome.
My favorite is your impression of him.
Listen, now I want you to go Google Giannis talking and say.
Oh, I know who he is. I've heard him talk. It's pretty spot on.
It's pretty spot on. Yeah. So I found that I have a niche.
Was he there for the conference, or was he just randomly in Orlando?
He's here celebrating after winning his title.
He went to Disney World.
He went to Disney World after, and he's staying at the resort that I'm at. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty freaking
That's
cool.
awesome.
Wild.
Yeah, really cool.
How, Chad, top that? What'd you do compared to me and Joe?
Nothing. I went to a golf outing. I went to a golf outing that Frank showed up 5 holes late for and didn't have clubs. But I did get to spend the day with a couple guys from NiSource that I enjoy a lot. So that was fun. It was nice to get out. I mean, there was probably 200 people at this golf outing. So nice to just see some normalcy. Hopefully it continues. It really is. Just
nice. I mean, same here. We got about 400 people at this show, which I thought was pretty good, you know, for kind of the first really COVID post-COVID, whatever you want to call it, show that I've been to. So it was really cool. Been good. It's been a good week.
Awesome. So, hey, gentlemen, I wasn't there because of my travels or vacation or whatnot.
You're on vacation.
We have on the show this week.
This week we have Jane Brown. She's the owner, one of the owners, her and her father of Brown Corrosion Services. They've been doing this. She's been doing about 27 years, according to her LinkedIn. I mean, the knowledge she has, what's pretty wild about it is most of her business has been overseas. Her story as a kid growing up and moving around is a lot of fun to listen to. I mean, she lived in some really cool places as a kid, but she's essentially been in the corrosion world doing some type of work since she's 16 years old.
Wow.
And the funny part is you'll hear her talk about it. She talks a lot about her father because he's a huge portion of the business. Obviously, he's kind of her mentor and how it started, but they hardly get to see each other. Now with COVID, I think they did a little more, but before that, they would go like a year where they would only spend 1 week together in a car. So just a lot of fun, very genuine interview. And she's really cool.
Jane's awesome. Yeah, she's really awesome. She's another, just one of those people that we've got to meet because of this show that we probably never would have. And, you know, I'm looking forward to the day that we can actually meet her in person. You know, it's nice to make friends, and to do it this way is even more cool. So
absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, without further ado, welcome to the show.
And in my best Ted Pete voice, welcome to Connections for Life, Jane. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Okay.
Hey, Jane, how are you?
Good.
So we'll get you started. It's so weird without Ted. Like Ted's usually the one that opens up the show. So Chad and I really don't know what to say. It's really ridiculous because we talk 98% of the time. It's that 2% we can't figure out. But
really bad at it.
We'll just ask the same question we ask everybody else. And I know it's an awesome story. So how did you get your start in the industry?
So my dad is a corrosion engineer. So I guess there was some natural nutrition there. But back in college, he had offered to get me a job, which is, i.e., I would like you to help pay your own way. So I had the opportunity to work at Corrosion, which was a Norwegian monitoring company, no longer exists today in its old form. And so I worked there through college. And then after school, I was in graduate school. And once again, my father volunteered that he'd run into somebody who had a company in the booth next to him at NACE, who their office was quite near where I was going to graduate school. And he volunteered that I could go in for an interview and, again, get a job. So I think he was trying to move me off the family payroll, possibly. So I went to work for Munters Moisture Control, just north of Boston, and worked there for about 3 years. And then Jerry and I were possibly having a cocktail one evening over the phone, and he was in Houston and I was up north, and he said, maybe we could start our own internal corrosion company and we'd stay in the Gulf Coast, and wouldn't that be fun? And I thought, well, like, why not? I mean, you know, you can risk
Awesome.
things when I had nothing, so I had nothing to lose, you know? So I walked in the next morning and gave my notice,
Wow.
which,
So
you know, when you go like down the road though, it feels like a brave move, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
sure. Oh yeah, for sure. So
Yeah.
Jerry's your dad's name, correct?
Jerry is my dad, yes.
Okay.
Yes,
I just
sir.
wanted to make sure for everybody that's watching that they understand that, because you always refer to him as Jerry, and I'm like, Dad.
We're
So I
like,
just-
who's Jerry? It's
And the
your dad.
other thing I would like to point out is that your dad got you like a cool job with like some international company. Like when I was in college, I delivered furniture. So I'm kind of like, you turned what you did, the job your dad got you into a career. I just find that interesting.
You don't move
Yeah.
furniture anymore, John?
No, I do, but just personally.
It's interesting though, because I think when you're that young, you know, you're a little bit limited in your perspective, and you never think you're going to get that far down the road, or at least
of course.
I never, you know, thought about having a 30-year career. And,
Yeah, right.
I
Yeah. Wow.
didn't, I just don't remember thinking about it. And, you know, we were lucky because we actually like each other
Yeah.
a lot.
That's good.
Enjoy working together. And so it's been almost 27 years.
Wow.
And the fun part is, like, over the years, we have done a lot of overseas projects.
Stop it. You're
And-
going to kill our later questions, Jane. You're just going to
No,
kill
I'm
them.
not.
Like,
No, I was just gonna say, so Jerry and I don't have gone these long stretches that we actually haven't seen each other.
That's
because,
wild.
you know, even though we obviously work together and run the company together, you know, we haven't had a lot of time. So, like, our favorite thing used to be, kind of a joke in the industry, because there's a story that goes with it, of course, but we always drive to wherever the NACE conference is, because it was like our once a year we would have time to like sit there and kind of catch up,
Kind of be
with,
locked in.
yeah, where was the company going, and, you know, what's ahead and what's the rest of the year. And so it was, you know, this really fun thing we did. And then one year when we were driving to maybe San Diego, I can't remember, Jerry left me at a rest stop. He forgot I was in the car and in the bathroom, and I came out and the car was gone, and I had no cell phone.
Thank gosh
and
that wasn't however many years earlier in the back seat.
It was like, yes, it was very traumatic though. So I showed up at NACE and I was like, Jerry left me at a rest stop, you know.
How did you get there?
What?
How did you end up getting there?
So,
Did you come
like,
back?
yeah, like an hour after I'd been at the rest stop, he realized like somebody had called for me, and then they realized I wasn't in the car, and they turned around, and by then this old couple had pulled into the rest stop, and I was like, you know, hey, could I use your phone? And they're like, oh, our daughter said it's only for an emergency. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure this qualifies. Otherwise, it was going to be like an 18-wheeler pulls up and I get murdered, you know?
You know what else is amazing though? You remembered your dad's phone number, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember anybody's phone number now.
So we're so like tight a family that we're all in sequential order.
Wow.
Yeah.
Or you just got Verizon a really long time ago.
Right. Do you have brothers and sisters?
I do. I have one sister. Yes.
Does she also work with the company, or does she do something else?
No, she worked for us very briefly about 23, 24 years ago, and said, I love you, but I don't really like you. And I don't like the oil field, which I was like, who's lost their mind now?
Yes. Also, she's never been left at a rest area. Just let's put that feather in her cap.
Okay. So yeah, so it's just Jerry and myself, and
That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome though. Why don't you just give us the 50 Cent tour on what you guys do? What do you guys do?
So when we, started out, our focus was strictly on internal corrosion monitoring, coupons and probes, and that was the base of our business. We manufacture retrieval equipment and that sort of thing. And so we started out, planned to work in the Gulf Coast, both service-wise and installing equipment. And then, as time has progressed, we've gotten into, a little bit of coatings inspection, a lot of cathodic protection work, both design and installation, all that good stuff. We do a lot of sand monitoring, which is sort of corrosion adjacent, if I can say, because it relates to corrosion, erosion, and things of that nature.
What does that mean?
And
Please tell me what that means, because I have absolutely no idea what that means.
so this is, I think, probably and maybe one of the more fun parts of our business, because it's very, you get a lot of interesting projects.
It sounds very beachy, so that's
What I
fun.
was gonna say.
Because, you know, you're detecting solids in a system. And of course, solids can cause a lot of damage or very little, depending on, you know, velocity and the type of solids you're bringing up and things of that nature. So we acoustically detect solids in a system and, you know, can sort of profile where they're coming from and at what rates they're being produced and things of that nature. So it's really interesting.
Wild. Yeah, that's pretty wild.
So that's, you know, that's, we've worked all over the world in that area, and that's been a really fun part of the business. And, you know, then we get into a lot of, you know, kind of interesting testing work, and we have a pretty big coupon lab in Houston, you know, doing all that. And so that's generally what we do. We're small. We've sort of stayed intentionally small, which is not necessarily the most popular thing to do anymore. You know, everybody's grow. But, you know, we feel like you know, we want to stay focused on what we know we're good at.
It's awesome.
And you can't be everything to everybody, for sure.
So your main facility is in Houston, right?
Yes, sir. And
how many employees do you guys have?
There's about 12 of us.
Okay.
Yep. And then we have an office in KL in Malaysia. Wow. And there's about 6 folks over there.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
who spends the most time? Did your dad do most of that travel, or do you do it too?
We both do.
Yeah.
You know, we've always traditionally been on some, if I can call it, longer projects. So we did Sakhalin project, and we were there a year and a half. We did the Chad Cameroon project. We were there for 2 years.
Wow.
Wow.
Mobile NSO, you know, which is no longer in Indonesia. We were there a couple of years on that. So, you know, just kind of depends on what's going on at any given time. But yeah, I had a lot of opportunities to see the world, even though maybe there's an element that one pipeline is the same as another, you know.
Yeah.
Never true. That is never true.
Well, yes, they're all unique for sure, but
I think it's cool. I know that in our previous conversation, you have traveled all over the world, not just in your current job, but before when you were a kid, right? You moved around a lot as a child and grew up in places. I think you've mentioned Athens and Singapore and some other places. What was that like growing up, just to live in that world? And that's part one of the question. Part two of the question is, what made you want to continue it as an adult? Like you must have just loved the travel to be able to stay in that capacity and still be doing that as an adult.
Joe, I was just waiting for the Oompa Loompas to run in there. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I was just thought there was going to be a pause and they come in.
I always mute my phone. So 64 episodes and I forget to, and I have my cell phone like Oompa Loompa whistle. So that's
so offensive.
Sorry.
You know, I think, you know, obviously the world's changed and communication is vastly different than it was, you know, when I grew up. You know, I'm old enough that
back in the 90s.
Well, I was going to say, somebody the other day said something about being in college and, you know, using the internet. And I said, well, you know, like I started college in '88, like there was no internet. And they were like, what, how'd you turn in your papers? I said, well, you typed them and then shoved them under somebody's door.
Wait a minute though. I was in college a little bit after that. And that was we had like an inner campus, like
an intranet. You had an intranet.
And then it would
That's
crash and you'd lose everything.
Yes. I mean,
we had the library. People actually went to the library.
I know.
We would borrow each other's word processors. So I get what you're saying. Like,
those were the glory days. But so I will say, I think there's an element that, you know, traveling sort of in our family blood. My dad's a Canadian, but he left.
Nothing wrong with that. Like my dad's a Canadian.
Yeah, wow.
So,
Poor
you know,
Gary.
he immigrated pretty much as soon as he could after high school and came to the US, went to California, and had started out. He'd gone down a few years before he finished high school and met a Canadian guy who had an oil field company in California. And the guy
Okay.
said, if you ever come back, you know, call me and I'll see what I can do to help you. And so Jerry had been a draftsman in high school, you know, for his job. And so when he went to California and immigrated, he started working on designs on valves. And so he got into corrosion and cavitation on valves. And that's sort of how he got into the corrosion business.
That's cool.
So he was in California going to school, UCLA, and then got drafted into the US military, which was part of your obligation of immigration.
I was going to say that had to be something to do with that.
Then he went
Yeah,
back to
so,
Canada
which,
for 4
which
years.
times have changed, but you know, he went in airborne, which was, you know, a very great part of his life. And then he met my mom on the base in South Carolina.
Oh, wow.
So
your mom's from the US.
Yeah, she's American.
So are
Yes,
you
sir.
dual citizenship then?
No, I'm not. No.
She's not allowed over the border.
Especially right now. They're like, stop, lady.
That's a big thing in hockey, in kids hockey. It's a huge advantage in youth hockey if you have that Canadian US dual citizenship.
Sure.
That's why I asked random.
Yeah, I'm not, I mean, my dad still carries both, but I'm not even sure if I'm eligible since I've never actually lived in Canada.
Fair enough.
Maybe they just don't want me. I don't know.
But
But
I mean, yeah, growing up though, I mean, it must have been cool because you did bounce around a lot. Like, what was the best part?
you know, as much we lived in Athens, and then from Athens we went to Singapore, and then we would always travel a lot. You know, we did India and Pakistan and Kashmir and a lot of the places that, you know, are more difficult to go to, you know, places that don't exist anymore, Yugoslavia, things like that. You know, but my parents always sort of believed there was, you know, education and travel.
Sure.
And so, and this is going to tell you the privileged life of an overseas kid, but I know in Singapore, my sister and I would always say, well, everybody else gets to go to Club Med, but like we have to go, you know, to India and stay on a houseboat, and we don't get to go to fancy places, which of course, obviously in retrospect, you think how completely lucky we were, you know, that we, you know, had these opportunities to sort of see, you know, the real world. And
I think it gives you perspective on humanity, right? Because you have the ability to see so many different ways of life, not just what your, you know, what your town or your city or even your state or country just is.
Yeah,
what you're
and
comfortable with.
you know, and I think it changes your perspective on,
For sure,
you know, say socialism and poverty and you know, racism, all these things that are very
for
current
sure.
topics now. And I think, you know, it goes without saying that Americans are blessed beyond measure, more than
you're right.
most people know. And I think there's also, you know, when you live overseas, I know when I was on the NACE board of directors, we had a board meeting in India, and we had a little time to do some touristy stuff. And a lot of the people had never been over there, and they were so horrified by the poverty, where I don't want to say I'm immune to it, but there is a reality that whether it be in South America or, you know, Asia or certain parts of Europe,
you've seen it enough places.
Yeah, certainly Africa. I mean, poverty for much of the world is a way of life. And I will say, I think regardless of your politics, there is an element that business and the energy market lifts people out of poverty.
For sure. It's a really good way to look at it.
You know, I think I don't want to say people are small-minded, but I think they're not always as aware of the rest of the world and what people's low points are. You know, you go to Africa still, and you still see people with, say, leprosy or things of this nature that are, eradicated in our world.
Right.
And so I think it does give you a healthy perspective on one, your own role in the world, but also, that life is still very difficult for many.
That's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. I think that we're just like creatures of our own circle of influence, right? We can't really see, like, our struggles are our struggles and they feel really, really bad, but you don't understand and have the understanding of what other people's struggles are. You can only see and feel what you can see and feel.
All perspective. Yeah.
Right. And I think you having the opportunity to go to so many different places in the world has given you, obviously that's amazing. I think anybody in their right mind would want to do that. That's an awesome life. You have amazing stories to tell. I'm sure we could have you on here for hours telling amazing stories about the things that you've seen and done in the places that you've gone.
Because of corrosion too, which is the crazy part.
Right.
I mean, a lot of it is to do direct impact with corrosion, right? I mean,
right. I just think that's a really cool byproduct of your job, that you get to do that and experience all that and do things that most people will never have the opportunity to do.
No, I mean, it's lucky. And I mean, one of the really neat things you look, like as, Venezuela was going down, I mean, they have a huge, really well-educated, amazing group of corrosion professionals in Venezuela, and many of them had to leave, and they're all over the world now. I mean, you go to Russia, you go to Asia, you go down anywhere. I mean, you find them, and unfortunately they all had to leave their own country, but they're out there working and thriving in these very foreign environments, which I think is really a neat thing, and
you guys hiring anyone?
I know. Can I go?
Yeah, I mean, right. Where are we headed next? I could become a corrosion guy.
But when Jerry and I started the company, because we had traveled so much, I think both of us thought, well, wouldn't it be neat to sort of stay home in the Gulf Coast and not go? But when you're starting out and you need to make money,
you got to take what you get, right?
You got to take that. You got to take that 3-week long trip to Hawaii. I mean, I get it.
So, but I mean, our first big project was in Venezuela. So, I mean, those were our contacts. And so overseas we went, and, we've had quite a few years in business where 90% of our work is outside the US.
Wow.
So yeah, I feel very lucky for sure.
I have an off topic question before the last one here, but how do you speak more than one language?
No.
Wow, that's impressive as well. For how much traveling you, neither do I.
So amazing. I mean, I can understand, some, but I don't.
Like Ola? That's about where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Uno.
Yeah,
Uno.
I mean, I can squeeze by in Spanish for sure. Have spent a lot of time working down there, and I know a little bit of a, number of different languages, but nothing.
Mostly curse words.
I was gonna say it's all the bad words.
Yes, like where is the restroom, and may I have another beer? That sort of
key phrases. Yeah. I think it's awesome. You guys have obviously had some awesome times you and your dad together. I know traveling around, there's got to be some project or some place or something that you did that really sticks in your mind as one of your favorites. Do you have any one that pops to the top of your head that you can say is a cool project or memory?
Well, I mean, I think every project's interesting in that, there's a different perspective from whatever group you're working with. And well, I will say this. I once was a consultant on a project in Argentina, and they called and said, you have to fly down. We have this very important meeting. So I flew all the way there, and we met for exactly 27 minutes. And then we went out. Then that was my trip to Argentina. Like,
that's usually wherever I go.
That is true.
I know. Well, I was like, if every day could be like that day. But I mean, I think all jobs, there's an element of interest to them. We did one of our first really big, long overseas jobs was in the Uch province in northern Pakistan. So there was a lot of fighting and things of that nature. And there was quite a bit of attrition on the project. And so in the end, there were like 8 or 10 Americans left. And I was supporting them from here because obviously women.
Yeah.
That was going to be my question. How difficult was that? But
Yeah, no, I mean that, and that's, again, Americans have the privilege of complaining about all that, but we also have the privilege of being women and being free, which
we all do, not just women. We all do.
Yes, well, for sure, all of us. But I mean, you do hear the gotcha.
You didn't have to wear your.
It's very difficult, but I just want to work, so I don't need to set the world on fire by making a point about being a woman in my mind. If you can't work there, you can't work. But it was kind of a neat project though, because with like the 10 guys left, they essentially started up the facility and got things going, and all had to work a little bit out of their wheelhouse. So I would get these like things and like, we're not really sure about this, like, pump, but could you do a little research and then we'll get the pumps going. And so, it was fun that, we went there strictly as the Corrosion folks and, got to develop the whole project. And, they're all interesting. I find, I love Nigeria. We have, quite a few partner companies there. We've done a lot of work there, and that's always, it's a challenge working there. Their infrastructures.
They don't even have electric half the time.
They're what?
They don't even have electric half the time, right? I mean, literally.
I was going to say, when you're there, by the time you get used to the generators coming on in the middle of the night, it's time to go home. And that's always unfortunate. So, it's a very challenging work environment, and their power grids and their roads are in very difficult situation. But I find Nigerians to be some of the most positive people there.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy?
Perspective.
It's perspective, you're just like, some people are just happy to have life and to be alive and to be able to share experiences. And then, I don't mean to like change the tone of the program, but here we're just whining. We whine about everything. Yeah.
No, we always say, I have a 4-year-old and a 9-year-old, and I always say there's like 2 things that define you: your gratitude and your attitude.
That's a good one.
I like that. We're stealing that.
100%. I'll never remember it though. You better write it down.
I stole it from somebody else. But, I think it goes back to, are you genuinely grateful for the life you have and the opportunities and the people who do for you, whether it be your teachers or your grandparents or the person who's working at the, corner store.
Doesn't matter.
And then, beyond that, like you choose your attitude, you choose to be happy or grumpy or, whatever the case is. And I do think in life, there's some degree of you choose happiness.
100%.
Certainly with traveling, you look around the world. And, I remember I was on a job, I think it was in Colombia, and we were driving through this little town on the way to the field, and there was like a tire shop, like a big industrial tire shop. And it was like dirty. And the guy was like literally just covered in, I guess, rubber grease, whatever.
Yeah, something.
Rubber grease.
There was, I don't know if rubber grease is a thing, but whatever.
It is now.
It is
now.
So there was like a big tire out front, but I remember like we were sitting waiting for something, and this guy like snuggles down in the tire and he's going to take a nap, and he was like happy. And I thought, you make your happiness, you right. Figure out what you've got, and, hopefully surround yourself with good people. And I feel like certainly we're lucky being in Corrosion because the people are great.
Yeah, the people are great.
In general, they're super hardworking, pretty ethical.
Pretty ethical.
Pretty ethical. It's really a few. But I think people feel very grateful to do what we all do because we do have a lot of opportunity. And so I think when you surround yourself with that, your perspective also becomes more positive, hopefully.
Yeah, I don't know. I never say this, but I think you might be my favorite interview because I have a million more questions that I'm not going to ask, but someday I will and I'm going to drive you crazy because Chad knows. You're going to have.
He could have gone down.
If I corner you at a bar, you're done for the night. Like, I'm going to pepper you with questions because I have so many.
I'll look forward to it.
Yeah, but
you think you will?
Yeah, right. Wait till you're an hour in. You're running to the bathroom trying to get away from me.
Get me away from this lunatic.
Yeah, don't worry. Tell me to drift off. It'll be fine. But no, in all seriousness, like I think that like you have a really cool story, and I don't think a lot of people get to do a lot of the things that you've got to do, not only as a child but also as an adult. And I think it's really commendable that you and your dad still work together and share that experience, because those are going to be things that you will forever remember and have those memories to take away.
For sure. And you know, there's the downside of COVID that we've all lived through to some degree, and you guys have kids, but we finished up, you know, when COVID started the year with my son came to work with us and, you know, did his homeschooling and his Zoom meetings and everything. And, you know, it was nice. We had 3 generations there, you know, cool. And he's 9, but since he was 2, he wants to be a mechanical engineer. You know, he wants to be just like his granddad. And I have to say, he seems to have the aptitude for it because he can pretty much fix anything, which is
that's crazy. Can you send him to my house?
Yeah, exactly.
I need some things fixed.
Yeah.
No, I think it's been a cool ride, and I think you have a lot more story to write in your journey.
I hope so.
And I think it's a cool one. I would definitely like to know more about just different parts of the world, because I've never had the luxury to go to anywhere really. I mean, aside from the standard Bahamas and Canada, I've never really been outside of the United States. So I just think that your perspective, Chad's muted and trying to
I screwed up. You've been a lot of places in the U.S. and Canada, Joe. You have to say that. I mean, just because it doesn't work. I mean, you've been all over. I've
explored this area really well, but it's just outside I haven't. But no, we look forward to getting in you know, together with you at some point. I think.
Yeah, I think this is a cool show you guys are doing though, and it's like fun, sort of seeing a maybe different side of people you sort of know, but you don't know their story.
Joe always used an example of, and I'll actually let him do it because he tells it much better than me, about one of the guys that we've worked with for like 10 years. Go ahead, Joe. You do it much better.
I knew what you were talking about.
Yeah, I knew you would.
No, we did this show for about 25 weeks or something like that, and I've been with Upscale for 10 years, and I'd worked with this guy for every one of them. He's been there longer than I have. And he started watching the show, and we finally interviewed him because we do like employee profiles, like for our employees at Upscale. And, you know, before or after, we were just talking, and he said, you know, I really love the show and I watch it all the time. And he goes, and I just feel like I know you guys so much better. Even though we've worked together for 10 years, he was like, you know, I feel like I know you better. And that was like, to me, the ultimate compliment that actually gets to come through. That we're genuine, and the people that do know us feel like they know us better. And this is like, for those of you that are still watching, like this isn't like an air. This isn't any like type of like show that we try to put on. This is just who we are, whether you run into us at the grocery store or on this.
Or Joe might be yelling at somebody in the grocery store parking lot. I just warn you. Get on the
store. Yeah, I can be a little grumpy sometimes, but that's for another day. With all that being said, I think we've gotten to know you a lot better. Yeah. And for this, we had never spoken with you before, and I'm going to put you on that long list of people that we've interviewed that I now consider a friend, and I really
can't wait to meet in person.
I will definitely look forward to cocktails one day, and we'll corner each other.
Fourth time you brought that up. I think there might be a deeper seated problem. I'm just kidding. It's the industry.
My dad is full of sage advice, and he always says water causes corrosion, so stay away from it.
I love that one too. We got 2 gems out of this.
Yep.
That's fantastic. Well, Jane, thanks for coming on the show. We hope now that COVID is clearing and things are going back to normal, that we'll actually get to see you in person. And I know I speak for myself and Chad, and not Ted, because unfortunately he's at a show today, but we're really, really happy to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. You're interesting guys, you know.
Yeah, one way to put it. Thanks for being nice.
Yeah, that's a one way to spin it. All right. Anyways, we'll let you go. Thanks for being on. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys. I
Thank you,
appreciate
Jane.
it.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, Jane, thank you for joining us on the show. Although I didn't get to participate in the interview, which is becoming more random or more
Not really.
Common.
You've been pretty
That's
consistent through the whole time.
That's
Yeah. Oh, wow. Great interview, Jane. Sorry I couldn't have been there. My co-host got my back again. They got my six.
Why do you look like you're about to go to us filming of Miami Vice?
So I can tell you the story behind that. So last year I came to this the DCA event in Boca, and I didn't know what to expect. So I packed business attire, lots of polo golf shirts, khakis, jeans, dress shoes. Everybody here was in shorts and Hawaiian shirts and resort casual. This year I had to bring the appropriate attire because I didn't want to be the guy wearing khaki slacks and dress shoes and a polo or a button down the entire time.
So everybody else is now wearing that, and you're walking around like.
Yeah, this year was a.
Look, I got a gold pin. I got a gold DCA pin this year.
Wow.
Where'd you steal that from?
Yeah.
What they cost, like
Gave it to
$7,000.
Yeah,
Gave it to me.
Did they give them to everybody in their registration gift bag?
Yes, I got it's right here. It came in my registration gift bag. with Upsco's bronze sponsorship tag.
Ooh, I like
Hands
that.
down.
I like the
I will make this bet. By the time you get home, you've lost that pin. I guarantee it.
I don't know. I think he's pretty sentimental about things.
The
like
only reason he's gonna come home with the pin is because he's gonna forget it's on his shirt and it's gonna go in his suitcase. That's the only way it gets saved.
Or I'll put it in my backpack to spite Joe. I'll pin it to my bag and wear it to the next sales meeting that we're in person.
That's just me looking out for you, buddy, because you would have lost it, but now you won't.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
What's it called? Reverse psychology? Is that what it's called? I don't know. Anyways.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So besides our interview, we've got our normal industry update, and we got kind of a cool talking point on this one. So I was reading an article today how First Energy out of Ohio has to pay $230 million in a settlement because they were bribing legislation to get passed that would benefit them.
It's
and
absolutely crazy to even think about. Like,
you feel like that happens all the time.
Well, it's the thing, like they can break the law as long as they pay the fine, there's no charges.
they didn't break, as long as they pay the fine, they didn't break the law.
Exactly. It doesn't make any sense. Like, how is that possible? Can I do that if I got enough money?
Yes. But you can't because you don't. Here's the thing. But here's the question I have, and I haven't read the article, so it may be addressed in there, but here's the question I have. If what they did got legislation passed that allows them to make $10 billion, is $230 million like a big deal?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Did it work? I guess is the question. Like, did they get caught before or did they get caught afterwards? I don't know.
I think it was over years. If you read it, it seems like it was over years that there was just certain things that they wanted changed and that benefited them, and they
kept paying.
Yeah.
But what about the people that they bribed? Do they get?
Oh no, they're government employees. They're still employed.
Yeah, they're passing legislation right now.
No, I have no idea. It actually didn't tell you, or I didn't make it that far.
It was a pretty interesting article, though, and I saw it this morning, and I immediately sent it to Chad, and I go, "Hey, do you know about this? Because you live in Ohio." And he was like, "Yeah, I heard about it."
I heard about it, but I didn't know it went to there. Jeez,
that's nuts, insane.
Yeah,
insane.
So while we still have Joe's internet, what time do you think it is, Chad?
Ooh, I think it's weekly gas fact time.
Okay, I don't really have a gas fact this week because I'm in lovely New Mexico and I haven't had a chance to really dig into it. But the one thing I wanted to say is, in the 16, 17 months since we've kind of been homebound, we haven't really been to conferences. I don't even know, Chad, you've been to one yet, have you? Okay. Teddy, you've been to what? This is your second.
It's my second. My second, yeah.
I just wanted to point out, like, I even though we've all created an environment for ourselves to be successful and to be able to continue doing our job remotely, there's something to be said about being back with people and getting to share experiences and go places and talk to people and meet people. And it's just been really a good time. I've had an awesome time here. And the one thing that I wanted to say, and it's not a gas fact, it's just more of maybe it is a fact. we work with awesome people in an awesome industry.
Yeah.
Everybody's so cool. Everybody's so gracious and genuine. And, maybe that's the blue collar, kind of, energy kind of, situation that we have. But I've just been absolutely like renewed and refilled, and that, geez, I really love these people. I love what I do. We work in one of probably, if not the best industry, one of the best industries on the planet. And we all get to have so much fun doing it. So it's not really a fact. It kind of is a fact.
It is a fact,
awesome.
though. The fact is that the industry that we work in is awesome. That's the fact of it. And that the people in it are some of the most genuine people that you'll ever meet. And you form relationships or connections with these guys or gals or people in the industry that are special, because it's so small, yet it does so much. And it's truly unique, and it's awesome. So no, that I would say that is 100% a fact, in my opinion.
What's incredible to me is that everybody that you talk to is all doing their job because they care about energy and people. We were talking, it's been a big conversation topic that I've had with a few people down here is, they love what they do because they provide something for people that allows them to live, energy to provide for their families and sustain their lives. And everybody, like, you might go to work to get money, and right, I think we all have to keep our lives afloat and pay our bills and things like that. But there's something a little bit different, I think, about gas employees, many of them, that really care about what they do and what it means to the world. And I don't know, it just, I maybe I lost that feeling in the last 17 months, but I certainly have gotten it back, and really appreciate it probably more now than I did ever before. So that's it for me. That's my gas fact.
What do you feel about that, Chad, before we get out of here? Because,
like Dr. Phil today? Well, I wasn't prepared to answer that.
Yes.
I'm frozen, I think.
So answer.
No, you're not.
Frozen?
No, you're actually got better.
Well, you went out, you had a golf tournament that you had to attend with several folks, and I'm sure that was the largest event you've been at in a while, right?
I miss seeing people, I guess. I'm a lot different. I feel like I'm not a huge people fan, but I think my attitude has changed a little bit, and I think it has a lot to do with the show, and kind of not, I feel like I need to talk to people because they look at me, and I'm like, okay, you looked at me. Like, I'm like, hey, I'm Chad. And I'm like, I never really did that before. And I'm just like, I just put myself out there. I'm like, who cares? Like, look, if you turn on the internet, you can see about 150 hours of me talking. So there's not much more I can do in person that,
Yeah.
Do you think that? But do you think that's because, honestly, and you and I chatted about this yesterday briefly, but do you think that's because, like, we've kind of put ourselves out there on this, where there's no, for anybody that wants to come on and see who we are and see our personalities, there's no more like, this is it, that's who we are. And maybe it gives us more comfortability in person because there's nothing to like hide behind or try to live up to, or
it's just
you've seen me at all of it. Like, I think that's something that is attributed to COVID, but especially for, like, in our case where, we were kind of one of the first on this platform going out there doing this, and it allowed people, Zoom and this teleconferencing and everything has allowed people to into places that normally it would not have been acceptable. You know what I mean? Sure. Where like if your daughter opens the door while we're having a meeting, 18 months ago, if I had to have one of these
conferences, shocked.
The problem is 18 months ago, you wouldn't have had that meeting.
Yeah. There was still that stuff going on occasionally, but when it did, it was so structured and so special that if you didn't have the brain power to lock the door so that this didn't get interrupted, how unprofessional of you. And now we're doing it in t-shirt and shorts, and our kids are part of a show that come in, and like our customers are like, how's Christina's running going? Hey, how's Nick doing in basketball? And
I think that has a lot to do with it.
And why are you wearing that shirt?
Chad was warned before.
He did. He called me before he got on the thing. He goes, please don't, or he texted me and said, please don't make fun of my shirt.
Sorry, I didn't get that message.
I did, and I still made fun of it right when he got on.
I guess you should have said something to me too then.
It would have been irrelevant if I said something to you, Joe. It was
before we go, we wanted to touch on just a couple events we have coming up that are actually live and in person, getting back to a little bit of that. I know my next one's KGA, August 24th in Lexington, Kentucky. Joe will also be there with me. We will not have a sound studio set up, but we will be set up at the bar in the Marriott.
In the Marriott.
Just him and I. No microphones or anything. We will be there though. Do you guys have any Septembers? Anything in September?
I don't.
No, I don't think so. But October's
a big month.
October's basically going to be going all month. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's me this month.
The first week of October is AGA, where we're going to have a fairly big booth. We're going to do some live on-site recording. We're going to do some interactive stuff with Energy WorldNet, Jim and James. That'll be fun. And then Joe, you can talk about the SGA part because I'm done talking now.
Oh yeah. So SGA, we're also doing something with Jim and James. We're hosting a happy hour game show. Like, I don't know what really we're calling it.
She named it. What did she name it? The game show jackpot.
Game show jackpot. So it's just going to be like a hodgepodge. I think probably like Impractical Joker style, just silliness of giving away prizes and having a good time. We'll mix in some trivia and some other kind of cool things. So
I'm going to give all you
guys. What?
I'm going to give all you viewers an inside tip. I'm the guy who's going to control the scoreboard. Don't be mean to me. Don't be mean to me.
Just unplug the screen, man. I'm just saying.
And now we're doing it by hand.
Yeah. But no, so we're doing that with those guys. We're really excited. It's awesome to pair with SGA. They've been super supportive on it. And I'm sure you're going to get absolutely crushed and inundated with marketing and hearing about this for the next 2 months or 3 months or whatever it is. So,
I'd be remiss to say that we didn't have a very exciting lead for something that could happen in here in a couple of weeks for us too. Nothing set in stone, but we got.
Let's not talk about that. Yeah, let's save.
Yeah, that's why I said I didn't really want to talk about it, but I just building interests.
Chad's the guy who doesn't want to talk about something, but then he brings it up. So
because I can't not talk.
Me either. All right, guys. Hey, thank you guys so much for joining us here today. Joe has one more thing before I say click like, subscribe.
Yeah, we didn't. I didn't get a chance to say this, but Jane. Ted always says this is my favorite interview. Jane was one of mine because after the interview, I got to talk to her for like another hour to hear more about like her travels and her story. If you don't know Jane, reach out to her. She's an incredible person. She's got awesome stories. She's hysterical. And we didn't give her a lot of love coming out of that because
you're right, because we just started making fun of Ted.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say, Jane, thank you. We really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show, and see you soon, hopefully.
Now, Ted, you can say bye.
Okay, so now that Joe's done talking and making me feel bad about myself, I'd like to remind all of our viewers to click like, subscribe, share. We love it when you comment, although you tend not to. I know that you're watching though, because the more we get out here, the more people I'm seeing who are like, you guys are funny. You guys should keep doing this forever. And we're like, we're trying. So, all right, guys.
We've been doing it so far on location, so whatever. Let's do more.
Look, Joe's internet finally cut out. It's the sign that I'm ending.
That's the sign. And
until
the
next week, everyone.